Okay, call to order the regular February 27th meeting of the Planning Commission. Oh, sorry, Lisa. I just realized you were walking in. Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Chair Quilty?
Here.
Vice Chair Andrade?
Here.
Commissioner Volt?
Here.
Commissioner Grove?
Here.
Commissioner Lowe?
Here.
Commissioner Riley?
Here.
And Commissioner Solficani?
Here.
Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for oral communications for somebody who would like to come up and speak on something that's not on our agenda. Please come forward and sign in. Okay, seeing nobody come forward, we'll close oral communications. And do I turn it over to you, Steve, or to Michelle for the reorganization?
I can do it for you,
Okay.
Michelle. I'll start off by introducing everyone to Michelle Mueller, our new department secretary, and she comes from Southgate to us. And she's been a great part of our organization already and very capable, and she's keeping us in shape.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So with that, now would be the opportunity for the commission to take nominations for chair for the upcoming year. I'm looking for the staff report. I don't see it. That's okay. I know.
You sure?
So we'll take nominations for chair for the next year, and then after that, we'll take nominations for the vice chair. And we'll do these through a roll call vote, Michelle. With that, are there any nominations for chair of the Planning Commission for calendar year 2017?
I nominate Larry Andrade.
Second.
That was
Okay,
quick.
we have a nomination second.
Roll call?
Chair Quilty?
Yes.
Vice Chair Andrade?
So I'm voting for myself. Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
Commissioner Volt?
It's always a
Aye.
It's a little strange.
Commissioner
Yes.
Rose?
Aye.
Commissioner Lowe?
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Riley?
All the above.
Yes.
And Commissioner Solficani?
Yes.
And now we'll turn it over to the new chair, who will take nominations for vice chair. That was a very switch.
We're switching already, this meeting?
Yeah,
Yep.
it
Like,
happens
happens immediately.
immediately.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in charge now, buddy.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're ready. You're ready.
Okay. So I'm actually taking nominations now for vice chair. Any nominations?
I'll nominate Art DeBolt.
Second.
Any other
We have-
nominations?
We have any others? So we have a motion and a second?
Chair Quilty?
Chair anymore.
Or
Commissioner-
Commissioner Quilty?
Yes. Aye.
Chair Andrade?
Yes.
Commissioner Groves?
Yes.
Commissioner Lowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Riley?
Yes.
And Commissioner Solficani?
Yes.
We'll ask him if he wants to be it. Make him vote.
I guess.
That's a yes for Art.
Thank you all.
You all want to rotate chairs now, or wait till
Do
the
Do
you
you want
that
to
too?
swap, or do you want,
Certainly up to
we can do it next week, next
Next
month.
time's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
With that, Larry, then you'll turn it over to the next item, which is number 6.
Okay, well, wait, did we approve the minutes?
No.
already? Oh, you're back. Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Oh, it was the approval of minutes.
Yeah.
That was, okay.
He didn't ask.
Okay, so, yeah, so number 6, approval of minutes for the regular meeting of November 16th, 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second. I'll second.
All right.
Oh, just so we have a motion in a second.
Okay, yes, so, well, there was 2. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. Low.
And any opposed? So we have one abstention and I'm not, this is good? Okay. Number 7, the consent calendar. There is nothing on the consent calendar, so we can move on to the public hearings. 8A is the 4 residential apartment units on one parcel, site plan review SPR 16-10.
Chair Andrew, this is in member-
Excuse me? I think I have a conflict
Oh, okay.
with this one, Chair.
Okay,
It's within 500 feet of my house,
okay.
so.
See you later.
Recuse. Don't have to do anything for that, do I?
It's between Catella and Florista, right?
Yes.
Yes. No, one more up, right?
It's between
Between
Florista and
Florista and Sausalito.
Florista and,
What is the next street up?
Florista and Catella.
No, it's Catella.
Yeah, I'm looking
It's
at it.
Catella.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's right,
Oh, okay.
it's right in the middle
You
of
guys
that
don't know
block.
either, huh? Okay. All right.
That's right.
No problem.
That's okay.
All right, site plan review 1610 is a consideration of a 4-unit residential apartment project at 10922 Walnut Street. It's a 7,375 square foot parcel in the multiple family residential district. And it will demolish an older home. It's like a 1910 Craftsman that has hardly any Craftsman stuff left on it at all, any style to it. The applicants are here with us tonight, Mike Garnica in the middle there, and Ron Wickstrom behind him. And in the project, Building 1, let me bring that up here. That's the house that's existing now. And that's behind the house. That's like a little workshop. And there is the property from the sky. And the front building has 1 unit on the bottom floor. That's building 1. And then 2 units on the top floor. Then the back building is just 1 unit on the top floor. The 3 front units are 2-bedroom, and the rear unit is a 3-bedroom. The ground floor unit up front has its own private yard here, and all the other units have balconies. There are projections into the front setback surrounding the doorway that cause the structure to only be 18 feet from the property parcel line. And staff has conditioned the project to be revised to a 20-foot setback, and the applicant wanted to talk about that later, so when they come forward, they'll talk about that. And the applicant, it will be required to remove a front driveway because everything will be accessed from the alley. And when they remove the front driveway, they have to fix the neighbor's driveway because the neighbor kind of shares a driveway with this property, so they'll have to move it over. And unfortunately, there's a water main there, so they are going to have to move that as well. So we'll see how that works out. This is going to be a modern craftsman-style building. It's modern, but in that it has little square windows and things like that. But it has a lot of the features of the old Craftsman houses. Fence encloses the front yard of the first unit, first floor unit. And the 2-foot tall fence is vinyl, and staff is suggesting that they make that something else, maybe some kind of block fence or something more appropriate to it. So we're asking you if you would like to add that condition. We didn't put that condition in, but we talked about it today and felt like we should say that. The front facade has stucco, siding, and stone. You can see the, well, they're in your packet as well, the color board. All windows have window trim, and some of the windows have shutters. The roof will be shingles. And both buildings have architectural elements on all sides, as opposed to just flat stucco expanses on the side. And some of them have siding and shutters on the side. I mean, some of the sides do. The applicant must meet a 15% landscaping requirement, and they meet 17%. So they've covered that well. And staff feels the project is compatible with the surrounding land uses and standards of the zoning district and supports approval of this project with two things to be changed. The vinyl fence, we would ask that you add that to be replaced with a block fence of some type, with either stucco or stone on the outside. And we also noticed today that the dumpster is listed as 2 dumpsters for some reason in the resolution, so it should be 1 dumpster it's going to be for these 2 buildings. So those 2 small changes to it. And back to you, Sheriff.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I think at this point, would we want to open up a public hearing? Is that correct? On that? Okay.
You can invite the applicant up.
You want to go ahead? Okay. So if the applicant would like to come up and present any additional information to the commission?
Good evening. My name is Ron Wickster, and I prepared the drawings and the designs for this project. And I've worked in the past on numerous projects with your city, and I want to make a comment about Tom and Steve. They're both very accommodating and meet you at any time you want to discuss the projects. So it's unusual. A lot of times it's hassle getting people to meet with you and answer questions. And I have a lot of dumb questions. This thing I want to talk about is this 18-foot setback. The actual building footprint and the structure itself is at 20 feet, which is the requirement. And these 2-foot encroachment is just 2 columns that are 18-inch by 2 foot deep that enhances and gives a little bit of covered porch protection on the door. Your code does allow to encroach 30 inches into the front yard setback, and this is basically 24 inches. But I understand from Tom that the problem is that these columns go all the way down on the ground, and so that makes it a building setback, not a projection. And I was hoping that you would allow us to have these 2 small projections on the front. And also noting, when driving the street, majority of the houses or multifamily structures built are much less than 20-foot setback right now. But Tom indicated that in the past, it was a 15-foot setback in the front, so that's why those buildings are closer. So we really wouldn't be much closer than a lot of the other structures on the street. And as for the little fence in the front, we can certainly make some new proposals for that little privacy fence. That's about all I have to say.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
So as far as to accommodate the 20-foot setback, how does that compromise the project to shift that building back?
Well, I can't shift the building back unless you give us back that 2.5 feet we have to dedicate, which probably isn't going to happen. You know, the lot is a shallow lot compared to some of the other lots. And we're pretty much set building depth, 28-foot drive backups, and the rear setback of 10 feet. So I can't really squish the buildings or move it back. I could probably make a new elevation that would eliminate that 2-foot projection, but as it is now, I think the elevation looks pretty nice, and I don't really think it'd be detrimental to the speed of the neighborhood if these 2 columns were in that 20-foot setback.
So Tom, is that correct, that the only thing that's that's making them out of,
In the 20 feet, yeah.
yeah,
is
those 2 columns?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the code talks about projections to mean like roof eaves
Patio.
and things like that. And so, you know, it's,
So if the columns were replaced by like corbels or cantilevers that didn't
would
go
be
to the
fine.
ground, then it would be in compliance?
right.
Yes, I think he said it had to be 6 feet off the ground, or,
Yeah, we're not, you know, sticklers on that,
It wasn't looking
you know, on that, but, yeah, corbels would do it. I mean, that's usually what's done. You know, on other projects, people do the corbels and they put out a roof that goes out the full 30 inches that they're allowed. So,
So right now, the way that sits, you've got the roof, the columns coming down. Are those columns actually attached to the house? Or
To
is
the
there,
house,
is there, there's no space in
Yeah, there's
between?
not-
It's
there's
just
not
a
freestanding.
column coming
It's like
off
A
the
covered
house?
porch.
Right, but I
Yeah.
was wondering if there was a space behind the column.
no, there's
So
not.
those go directly to the house?
If we were to eliminate the columns, we'd probably have to remove the stonework. Because it's really not appropriate to have stone floating 6 feet off the ground.
Right.
You know, some kind of an architectural, you know, beam going across.
Mhm.
So that would have to be done somewhere else, and I'd have to consider how we could maybe put stone somewhere else in the building, or maybe just eliminate it completely. I feel the columns and that little roof adds a lot to the depth of the building.
Do we have that question, Steph, do we have that latitude to,
Say we're okay with columns?
to say we're okay with the column as opposed to?
If
column?
I mean, I'm comfortable with you saying this is a qualified projection into the front yard setback. It's not square footage.
Right.
an
it's-
Right.
It's just
It's an
a,
architectural feature. Just keep in mind that we, based on that decision, we'll make a policy document, and then we have to be fair to anyone else in the future that comes along, and we'll memorialize it in our formal manner that we do.
But it's still our decision if somebody were to bring something forward at that point that doesn't meet the setback, correct?
If somebody was, you know, pushing the envelope, I certainly think you could take their temperature on that. The 7 of you are pretty talented at knowing when somebody's just trying to get a little more square footage on a property versus trying to have an architectural feature projecting in the front yard. I think
Correct.
you know the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the verbiage in the code say that the projection can't be connected to the ground?
The
or
code
is that-
says architectural features on the main structure, e.g. cornices, eaves, garden windows, canopies, etc., may extend a maximum of 30 inches into a required side setback. Eaves, canopies, cantilevered balconies, decks, similar features may extend a maximum of 30 inches into the required front or rear setback.
A balcony can.
Council, what section is that?
Yeah.
That's 17-16-100.
17 what?
17-16-100.
So we get to the point where a balcony, someone can stand on it, it can project 30 inches. I think the pole that holds the balcony is probably acceptable, even though this isn't that case.
Right.
Sure.
This column does not hold a balcony. But if it did, you'd
Right.
probably say
That would
that it
be-
meets this requirement.
Yeah.
But Ron, don't use this to do this on every property, though.
Yeah.
unless it looks good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, certainly that's the case. If
I
you
think
take
it's
those,
okay. I think we'd probably like to make a finding, add a finding to the resolution, though, before we wrap it up. We'll make,
And we
you
have to
know.
eliminate that condition too,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, I mean, certainly if you take those columns out of there, it's a completely different look to the structure.
Right.
It's a box.
It's not good.
Exactly.
Okay.
Don't you think, Lisa?
Yeah.
Fine.
I was just going to see if you had a definition of architectural projection.
Yeah, I mean, if it was 15-foot setback, we'd be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'll make a motion to approve it with the changes to the front fence that staff has asked for.
And also the
And
dumpster,
the
the dumpster thing, and then,
the dumpster.
And what condition are we eliminating, Tom?
Number 7?
yes.
Yeah, 7.
And then changing
What do you want to do?
dash number 26.
No, I'm going to change section.
Okay.
to hold one. on the first sentence.
Okay.
Then the final thing could
I-
be number,
I would recommend changing section 3 to say, based upon such findings and determinations, the Planning Commission approves site plan review SPR 16-10 as represented by plans elevations, subject to the conditions located in Exhibit A, and finds that the columns are architectural projections which are allowed pursuant to code.
I like that.
Sounds good.
Where was that inserted?
Yeah.
That's going to go into section 3,
Here.
rather than to have to start to read.
On the actual, on the resolution.
Resolution, okay.
Okay.
There we go. Donation. Yes, if there are no other questions, we can, or any other comments from, did you have another question?
I just thought we'd ask, so you're aware of the changes and the conditions that we're discussing right now? Is that agreeable? I
Yeah,
mean,
about the trash enclosure and the vinyl fence in the front.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
No
good.
other comments? Yeah, we
Thank
can
you.
close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So do,
So you can ask for something.
yeah, we have the motion and we're,
That motion, move the motion?
are we good with the motion at this point?
Yeah, we're good with the motion. We haven't had a vote on the motion.
No, I understand. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
And let it be known that Wendy recused herself.
Congratulations.
Here, I'm nodding.
Yes.
I need, can I be excused? Can I be excused for a minute? I have to talk. You can go ahead.
Oh,
Well, we have to wait for,
Ron? You have a customer.
so was resolution 1701 also adopted in that?
Yeah, that
Did you
was, that's what we
both of
just
them?
approved, yes.
Well, you had, actually, there was two. There was 16, well, it was, this for 1610, and then this,
Oh,
resolution
really?
1701.
Yeah.
Just go.
So that's it.
Okay.
Same, yeah, no, we're back on.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we are on to staff reports, and there's a post-construction update on the McDonald's drive-through.
yes, Chair Andre, members of the commission. This review of conditional use permit 33690M and site plan review 1101M concerns the McDonald's drive-through that he asked to change a while back. The Kevin Kasha, the owner of the McDonald's here in town, and a few other McDonald's, I think, right? Yeah. He's here tonight to talk about anything you'd like to, if you've noticed anything about the new drive-through. Staff has not had any calls like we were getting there for a while about backups. I personally have sat out there in the parking lot and watched just to see during lunchtime whether it backs up, and it seems to work really well, which I was frankly shocked, because I thought people wanting to pull out of spaces and stuff would get bothered being stuck, but it seemed to go well. So at this point, you can ask questions of Mr. Kasha, and see, if you have nothing to say, you can leave. I don't know, but back to you.
Thanks.
Hello.
Good evening.
Did you want me to make a statement about how things are going or answer questions first?
No, I think a statement would be great.
Okay. Thank you for letting me come back here and update you. We're absolutely thrilled with the way things worked out. This is a one-off that I designed. McDonald's cookie cutter designs did not fit this lot, and we wasted maybe 9 months with them trying to figure it out. I dug back into my old engineering kit from college, Cal State Long Beach, and tried to figure out a better way to build a mousetrap. And it's different. Most of the double drive-thrus, whether it be Chick-fil-A or other McDonald's, generally you start in one lane, you separate into two, order, and then you merge back into one. In order to do that, we were going to eat up about 5 parking stalls to have that split into 2 and back into 1, which is unacceptable. So I designed 2 drive-thrus that just start in different directions, and then after ordering, they merge back together. And as you know, the big problem was in the morning between 7 and 9 a.m., we get all that traffic heading eastbound, and on one cycle of the light, we might get 8 cars. It's not unreasonable to get 8 cars out of one cycle, and it would back us up onto the street pretty quickly. Now, my team is very fast compared to other McDonald's. We were averaging in the mornings 104 cars per hour, which is pretty darn quick.
Oh my gosh.
But we couldn't, that speed did not help us with that arrival rate. That's what we couldn't deal with. We needed to find a way to get more cars on the road, on the lot, I should say. So by having 2 drive-through lanes and cars able to stack in 2 different ways, I can now get a total of about 20 cars on my lot, all in the drive-through, 7 from the pickup point back to before you order, and then from those 2 order points back, I can get another 7 in each lane. So I can get about 20, 21 cars, depending on the size of them, which is a big improvement. It's helped a lot. And without any advertising or balloons or hoopla, just doing it. I'd like to share some of the results, if I may.
Sure.
We have served, and the construction ended, I'll say about 6 weeks ago, where they were totally off our lot, landscapers and everyone the last little bit. In that time, in my drive-thru, we served 5,323 more customers than that same period of time the prior year. That averages out to about 127 more customers per day. And I think of that basically as the number of people we were just turning away. That were coming down the street, seeing that line and going, I don't have time, and going. So by having them see that they could get onto the lot, they felt more comfortable. Now what we needed to do was to serve them even faster than we were, so that they would trust us when they saw those lines. And my staff, through a combination of increases in technology for them, different equipment, different headsets, different things to help them move faster, we've been able to move our peak hour, which is not just one time, but we've had several times, from 104 cars in 1 hour to 126 cars in an hour since we started this. So it's less than 30 seconds a car's moving. And so I think what's happened is the community kind of trusts us now, that even if they see a long line, they know it's not going to be that long. And they're moving every 30 seconds. They're moving one space forward. So it's been really great. We're serving through that drive-through on average about 127 more customers every day, to the tune of about $35,000 more in sales by doing this. So I couldn't be happier. I appreciate the opportunity to come up with a rather unique solution, and I think it's been working out really, really great. So that's the new what we actually did. If you're not familiar with our original order point, sat right about here, and we designed this one to come in around here. But it's necessary that those 2 order points be at the same spot from the pickup window, so that everything is going in sync. So we actually moved this one around back to here so that they were equidistant from the pickup area, so that everything's timed right. You don't want someone else's order ready before someone else, so you want it the same distance exactly. And that's how we did it. And we did it parking neutral. We did not take up any spaces. We had to get a little creative. In the back corner, there's a trash corral that was about 20 by 20. And I don't have that much trash. We have a trash compactor on site that we compress all of our trash into cubes before we bring it out. So we only had one can in there. So what we did is we cut the trash corral in half, which is more than enough room, and that enabled us to get another stall. And then we shifted down one of our planters and made another stall there. So we recaptured the 2 stalls that were taken by building that area right there.
Excellent. Do you have any questions or comments for?
I haven't seen anybody backed up on Catella since the second one opened.
And that's the best news.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's a dangerous spot, and so we're very happy.
Yeah.
I shared with the staff the only time that might happen, and I've stood out there many mornings and watched, is if someone is parked in the very first 1 or 2 stalls, and they turn onto our lot and they make a hard right and park in one of those very first 2 stalls. If they are backing out of those stalls when cars are trying to come in, there is a hesitancy where they have to wait for that person to execute their 3-point turn to get out of that stall before it comes on. But exclusive of that, I have not seen it be a problem. And our people are aware that in the event that we have a really, really, really busy day, they know to run out there and do what they were doing before, which was asking the customers to circle the building. And it's few and far between, maybe once or twice in the last 6 weeks that's had to happen. And the customers are a little bit more agreeable to it because they seem to feel that we're moving a lot faster, and so they don't seem to mind as much. The other advantage that we got by moving that order point back is that gives my kitchen a little bit more time to get the food ready so they're not waiting. And so the actual time between paying and picking up your order has dropped about 20 seconds. We have more likely to have an order ready. We don't have to hold them there or have them to pull forward and wait. So there's just been a lot of benefits to the whole project.
It's impressive.
It is.
Thank you.
It is impressive.
Very much so. Anything, anybody?
No. You
We're
answered
good.
any questions I had.
No, yeah, no, that was very informative. Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
And congrats on the success.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I'm just, it's always nice to see that there's a demand, and we are just taking care of the extra people who already wanted to get their coffee that morning that were leaving. So I'm pleased about that. May I bring up one item that was briefly brought up when I was here 6 months ago, and if it's inappropriate, just let me know and I'll withdraw. At the time, someone asked me how was the volume of this restaurant compared to my other restaurants, and I said it's growing. From the time I bought the restaurant to today, I bought it about 2.5 years ago. It's gone up about $300,000 in sales, and with this project, I'm sure it will go even a little bit more. And one of the reasons why I believe it's not even higher is the difficult situation of a U-turn that you have for our westbound travelers. And I happened to notice a sign that kind of gave me an idea. There's a sign right before the alley as you're coming eastbound that tells us, between 4 and 6 p.m., you can't stop to turn right onto that alley right after Chase Bank. And it's because you don't want people backing up. And it made me wonder, have you in the past or considered with the two left turn onlys that are from Catella towards Los Alamitos Boulevard South, having the inner one allowed to do U-turns under non-peak times? Is that something that anyone has ever considered? Do you find it to be dangerous? But if we looked at just our non-peak time, non-peak in the morning, non-peak in rush hour in the evening, would it be possible to have a U-turn there?
I think that's probably a better question served to the Traffic Commission actually, and maybe something that you can work with these guys to bring up at one of the agendas or something, and maybe bring up to them at one of their meetings.
Okay.
And I mean, they're the ones that are gonna actually have the wherewithal to deal with that one.
Sure.
Next Wednesday night, same place, same time.
There you go. Not this Wednesday, but next.
Next Wednesday, yes.
Thing is,
Okay.
you have
It might be worth,
you have a green arrow, a right turn green arrow.
might be worth it.
That,
On-
and that's all the stuff they have to look at before they
Yeah,
decide.
so,
Timing
yeah.
of everything is reliant upon it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions at all?
No, thanks. Thank you for the update.
Okay.
Very
Thank
much.
you so much for letting me do this project, and
I'm gonna come by and check
I'm
it
glad
out.
to see that we solved a problem, a dangerous problem in the city. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, Kevin has been a very responsible owner of the property. He always takes our calls and answers our concerns and addresses any issues that we have in the city. And we really appreciate him being here. This is such a successful project that I think he should start thinking about franchising this, maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, you might have a future there.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay, and then I guess on to, under staff reports, this is the resolution of intention 17-02,
Right.
amending regulations for accessory dwelling units in the residential zones in the city to comply with new state legislation.
With that, everyone say a big sigh and say thank you, State of California, for this wonderful new law that we have to abide by. There's my commentary's over. But this is one of those things that happened last year, and you'll see many of the cities in California are starting to address this issue. There's some cities trying to get a little creative. That's why we didn't start ours on January 1. Kind of watching what other cities do. But we also wanted to present you with what the state has provided us as the guidebook. So you can take a look at their tone and the manner of which they develop these new laws. Many people have opinions about this, both on the side that it creates housing and both on the side that it changes an R1 zoning into something else. And I'm sure you'll have your own opinions. But we're in no hurry to address this issue in the city of Los Alamitos. We're going to watch a few cities stumble and be challenged, and we're going to look at their ordinances. Lisa's doing one in one of her cities right now. But there's a lot of interpretation of what these mean, especially in the, what's it called, the micro units?
Yeah,
The junior?
Yeah.
Junior ADUs?
Junior units.
Yeah, the junior dwelling units where you can actually split your house by having 2 kitchens in it. And it's really designed that loosely. Yeah.
I want to caution, if you take the time and you read the HCD booklet, there's a lot of chatter on the city attorney listserv that HCD reaches some conclusions in what they say that we don't really know where they came up with their conclusions because it goes against the plain meaning of the statute. So it's going to be very hard to go into court with some of their positions and go, yeah, the language says this, but HCD says you can do it. So just if Housing Community Development, Department of Housing and Community Development, who Steve gave you the booklet on. And that'll probably come up for you when it talks about the questions on the size of the units, because the statute says one thing and HCD says something different. And I think the consensus among the city attorneys is we probably have to go with the language of the statute, despite what HCD has said in their guidance.
How does something like that get resolved? I mean, does somebody end up filing a lawsuit against HED?
Probably, or there's clarifying legislation. One of the problems with this statute and also with the density bonus ordinance is there were 2 or 3 bills addressing each of the same code sections. So if you look at the legislation, it actually lists like 2 separate sections in each bill. And then it says, well, this section applies if it's chaptered last. And then this section doesn't apply. And it really got to the point where I think everybody kind of said, I'm just waiting till the new books come out. You know what I'm talking about, Victor, when the legislation is actually published in final format. And they did this on several bills this year, and I also heard there are already 32 housing bills that have been introduced for next year.
Wow. Jeez.
This is a big issue for the state.
So we're in no hurry for you to pass a resolution. We are going to start working on it. We'd like your support to start working on it because we don't want people to slip in and try to get something that maybe we can prevent, but we still have to follow the state's guidelines, and we can't adopt an ordinance that conflicts with the state guidelines. Where we have issues, though, is that state guidelines, as you can see, are somewhat confusing. And some city that passes an ordinance is probably going to be challenged and asked to redraft their ordinance, and so we're kind of watching for those things to occur.
And until such time as the city drafts an ordinance and the state guidelines apply. And I think it was included, the new language of 65852.2 is on, starts on page 19 of the HCD handout that Steve gave you. That's another one of these very long statutes. Not as long as density bonus, but
Yeah.
Question. Is there any consideration given to cities when writing their ordinance about the number of square footage they're allowed to be developed? In other words, it seems like when you compare our city to some other cities I've looked at, we allow much more square footage on a parcel than maybe some of the other cities do. And therefore, to achieve the goal of this, the cities that allow less square footage, is that a consideration given, since we give more square footage than others?
So what the state law states now is, you have to allow a minimum which would allow an efficiency unit, which is 150 square feet, I believe. A lot of cities have minimums in their codes as to how small something has to be. You have to allow somebody to build 150 if that's all they want to build. If it is a detached accessory dwelling, then it can be up to 1,200 square feet. If it is an attached accessory dwelling, then the maximum size, state law says, is 50% of the existing dwelling unit, but in no event greater than 1,200 square feet. So if you had a 3,000 square foot house, you couldn't put on 1,500 square feet, unless the city wanted to allow that extra square footage. But I think what most cities are doing is limiting it to what the state says you have to do.
Are those numbers in here?
It's in 65852.2 of the ordinance. What? At 1,200 square feet would be the attached. Right, and accessory dwelling units are specifically called accessory buildings. So it
More
than 50%
can't
of the
be,
square
if
footage
it
of the house.
is
Right.
If
up to
it's-
1,200.
Yeah.
attached. If it's detached, 1,200. So I know what we're doing in Gardena is we're specifying that it has to be behind the main house, because you do have that ability. And then I think we're dealing internally at a staff level of, can you make your existing house the accessory unit if you have like a 400 square foot house? And then create
You
a,
have to run all these scenarios, you really do.
and then create a new
If you have a large lot.
dwelling unit.
Still have to stay in the setbacks?
I would think.
Unless you specify otherwise, I think the underlying, there are some specific things. If you convert an existing garage, then I think there does not have to be any rear yard setback
No, there is, or side yard.
or side yard
If
setback.
it's against the fence, it can stay against the fence, and you can build a second floor on it.
But no, second
Yeah.
floor needs to be 5 feet
Right, but
5-foot
but I'm saying
setback.
you don't have to tear down the,
So a
Right.
detached
That-
garage in back of the house could become a residential unit and not have to move in 5 feet for the setback.
Correct.
Correct.
yeah.
I've got another question. If you, whether detached or attached, the size of the accessory building is regulated by the size of the existing or main building,
Not for a detached,
attached to.
attached.
Now, what if to allow the accessory building to be bigger, you increase the size of the existing building?
You could probably, if you can do that within your
Yep.
Yeah.
FAR or
Yeah.
whatever the density is, yeah,
And
Yeah.
so that would be.
to get up to 1,200, but 1,200's the max.
So if that came to the commission, or if that came to staff,
Doesn't come to you.
if
It
it came
doesn't
to
come to
you,
you, yeah.
would it come as one project?
If they faced it that way, yeah, or they could try to do it covertly and do it in 2 steps.
It's only in the R1 area.
It applies right now to any residential zone, to the R1 zone and any other residential zone on which there is an existing single-family home. So if you have a single-family home in your R2 or your R3, they can do an ADU. Now, why, in
Why-
some,
Yeah, it's that you can do that anyway.
well, yes and no, depending what your city's code's in. Is
Right.
like Gardena has a minimum size for their unit, so
Right, we do too.
they couldn't just do a small
Right,
unit there.
yeah.
This allows the ability, the idea is that the smaller units are either providing additional housing for family members, or they become less expensive rental-type units.
Yeah.
And if you're addicted to the tiny house nation like I am,
That's what
You see
began
that-
all of this, is
that-
people
that-
seeing those cute little houses
that
and going, hey, I want one of
people are
those in the backyard.
definitely moving in
So.
this direction of downsizing.
So I can build a little house in my backyard, which isn't really big,
Mhm.
If you meet the
and
If
move
setback.
my
you meet the
husband
others-
into it and keep my park.
Yeah.
The bigger dog.
Tape's rolling, right?
Well, so if you have, like we have, I just had a conversation with somebody who was trying to figure out a way to convert his laundry room into a living unit.
Oh,
Wow.
And I said, it's not gonna work, 'cause, but anyway, we have a whole string of properties down on Farquhar, just to give an example, that have a single-family home in the front, approximately 1,100 square feet. Behind them are 3 units that have been built, and they all have super large laundry rooms. They were designed, quote, as a laundry room, rec room, and then as soon as the permit was final, then they would convert it into a studio apartment, because it already has a shop, a bedroom, and a shower, bathroom, shower.
And they've
It's
done-
already in there.
Because it was a rec room.
Legally converted, or?
Oh, no,
no,
no.
illegally.
Not
No,
going through
no.
us.
No, they did that, and then they got caught umpteen years ago. And so, but now, buying this accessory unit, you have the house, single-family home in the front, you have the space in the back, you know, and it would make a good unit. I mean,
Mhm.
it would meet all the requirements of bathroom and windows and et cetera. So,
But what are
does
the
it look like
parking
you can
requirements?
Oh,
you can
One,
now squeeze in
Oh,
a,
you're
It
not going to
requires
be,
the owner to live in one of the units, though.
if that's your code, you don't have to make that.
Oh, really? Okay.
That is up to
And
each
that should be
city.
our code.
That's one of the things that we could put
You
in.
definitely
Yeah.
want to do
That hasn't been challenged.
And again, whether you want that in the R1 unit, or you want that in the R2 unit as well. I know certainly if your R2 and your R3 units are already rental type areas, maybe it doesn't matter. Just things to consider. The parking requirements you're not going to like at all. What the state has basically said is that, if you convert your existing garage, you cannot make them replace the existing garage.
Really?
kidding.
The
Wow.
parking can be tandem parking, parking in the setback areas, unless you make a specific finding that you don't allow tandem parking or parking in the setback anywhere in your city.
Did they include the front lawn?
Yeah.
That you could park on the front lawn?
If you
No, I
pave
don't
it.
think, if you pave
Yeah.
it, right,
If you pave it.
right.
Yeah.
Terrific.
So replacement spaces can be located in any configuration on the same lot as the accessory dwelling
For
unit,
sanctuaries.
including but not limited to covered spaces, uncovered spaces, tandem spaces, or mechanical automobile parking lifts. Then, if your accessory dwelling unit falls into any one of these categories, you cannot require any parking for the accessory dwelling unit. Half mile of public transit, architecturally and historically significant historic district, part of the existing primary residence or an existing accessory structure. So if you were to have a 1,200 square foot house and you wanted to carve 200 feet off into an existing, into a separate accessory dwelling unit, no additional parking. If you have an on-street parking permit requirement, but the occupant of the accessory dwelling unit couldn't get that, or when there's a car share vehicle located within 1 block of the accessory dwelling unit.
And the entire city is within a half mile of
Yeah.
transit.
Public transportation, yeah.
Yeah. So no parking.
Wow.
Where they get this.
Sounds like
Crazy.
So
a hut in
pretty
Fiji
fast,
is the place to go.
quick, done.
Do we really need a code book? Do we really need any development standards? No, why don't we just?
According to the state, you
State
don't need
wants the
nothing.
free-for-all, right?
You at least want to put in things that it has to be architecturally compatible. I mean, it is kind of a joke. It's like the density bonus as well, where they say you have to adopt a density bonus ordinance, and here's everything that it has to say. And if you don't adopt it, it doesn't matter because state law applies anyway. So you're not, I mean, you can put in your own
If you like your
setback.
doctor, you can keep your doctor.
Not for long.
You could put in some setback requirements, distance between structures, if you wanted to. Right now, whatever you have in the code between accessory building and the main structure is what will control, because these are called, again, classified as an accessory dwelling unit. So we have to specifically call it out in this code. If in the second unit, I'm sorry, accessory dwelling unit. We've gone from calling them in-law granny flats to second dwelling units to now they are called accessory dwelling units. And I don't know why they have to keep changing the term on us.
And it moved fast.
I'm buying a tiny house.
This new
Stick it
law
in my
moved
backyard.
fast. It was a trailer bill on the budget.
couple in my backyard.
I think I can too.
We're gonna do a
Of
sanctuary
course it
state,
was.
gotta put
I'm
people
gonna do
somewhere.
it. It's gonna be a shed. It doesn't have to be
So
now.
with that,
Yeah, it
we
doesn't
wanted
have
to
to
let
be
you
now.
know this is coming your way. We're gonna draft any input that you want. Please email me and let me know what you think. If you're watching newspapers and see interesting articles, spread them around. Let me know. Michelle will disseminate it to all the other commissioners. And we'll just get all our heads together and try to develop something that works for LaSalle.
That works.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
All right.
So, do we have to adopt the resolution?
We need,
Yeah.
oh, do we need to do that?
Well, no,
We'll start working on it.
but you'll
Oh.
be even worse if you can't at least control the few things you want to, like requiring somebody to be an owner
Yeah.
to live in one unit.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 17-02.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. That takes us to items from the Development Services Director, if we have any.
State of the City is next Wednesday at Joint Forces Training Base. this past week. If you want to register, you can do so by calling the Chamber of Commerce. It's a fun luncheon. This is the first time we're going to be recognizing businesses. So 10 businesses have been nominated by people in the city or have nominated themselves and will be recognized at that meeting. So that'll be an interesting twist to it. We've never done that before, so that's a nice touch. And the Race on the Base was this past weekend, very successful, and very successful Friday night with the kids run. It was really great glow run, and the kids had a really great time. And then Saturday was really well attended because a lot of people are stir crazy because they haven't been able to run on other weekends. So we had a lot of really good attendance on Saturday at the base. And with that, nothing else to report.
Two questions. Stephen, can you enlighten us on the changes with the sign?
Sure. Yeah, keep me on topic. Madam Assistant City Attorney. As you all know, you've been emailed when someone appealed your decision that was done in November. They appealed it in a timely manner, and Lincoln Properties and the appellant had settled, and the appellant had withdrew his appeal, asking that the hearing not occur. No hearing occurred because you don't have an appellant. It's kind of like not having an applicant. Can you have a hearing? Pretty similar. A lot of people were upset with that, so we have a lot of the public showing up at any meeting possible to discuss the issue, and they've attended Rossmore Community Services Board meetings, Traffic Commission meetings, our City Council meetings, and the school board meetings, trying to find a way to stop the sign. But the changes in the project were that were agreed upon between the appellant and the applicant. We may never know the details we may never see that settlement agreement.
We won't. It was private.
But we were told that the sign gets lowered to 90 feet maximum.
20, well, it was more than that then,
Yeah,
30,
it was
30 foot.
feet. It's no longer a digital sign, so it
Right.
will only be names of businesses on the sign, and they will not move or change.
So no bananas for $1.99.
Correct. And
2,000 square feet instead of 3,000.
instead of 3,050.
Right.
So those, and then the other point was a sum of money provided to some entity unnamed
Not
for
city.
the benefit of the children's safety going to Oak Middle School. Very vague.
Wow.
We don't know a thing about that. But yeah, that's it. So the project has changed. And then the next step is for Lincoln to move along with their drawings and to go into plan check.
Excellent.
Second question. Does the amendment or this changing of the trash disposal container at McDonald's violate a condition of that?
No.
Nah.
No.
Nah, there's certain administrative, no, actually, they came to
No,
you.
they
You,
had.
you did it via site plan review.
Okay.
If you remember, Kevin came to you about 7 months ago to ask for this change. It was a modification of his conditional use permit.
Okay.
So the site plan that's there today was approved by the commission 7 months ago, maybe?
Yeah.
7 or 8. So tonight wasn't a reopening of that hearing, it was just an update of the project. If this had gone south, we would have recommended you actually reviewing those conditions again. Tonight would have been more formalized. But it seemed to have worked, and you wanted that update, so we made sure we provided that update.
Yeah, that was great.
I was wondering what the status on the hotel.
The hotel is done with their first plan check through us. Plan check is when they bring their blueprints in, they're this big around, they bring them to the counter and they asked us to review them to make sure they're compliant with the building code. We have done that, we've provided those corrections back to them, and now it's up to their consultants, their draftsmen, their drawers, their architects to revise those drawings and get them back to us. And then when that occurs, they'll move forward. So that's been about a month we've been sitting in limbo.
How long does that usually take?
Immediate.
You know the industry. The industry's pretty crowded. If I were to call an architect asking him to draw up his drawings, they can choose the work they want right now, and they're very busy.
Yeah.
They're not as hungry as they once were. They're not sitting around waiting for work. So his guys are probably moving slow. I'm hoping that's what it is.
Yeah, it used to be very fast.
And Tom
They would
calls
try
them
to get
about-
it over with real quick.
Yeah,
too.
Tom calls them about once every other week
Yeah.
and engages them in a conversation to make sure they're still moving forward. And then the Los Al Boulevard project, the center median project, is out to bid. Those bids come back on Thursday. Old Dutch Haven is under construction this week for repaving their project. The bike trail is beginning on the 1st, the repaving of the bike trail here above Coyote Creek Park. You know where the bicyclists go? It's in pretty bad condition.
Is that, where is that?
Not the Cerritos one that you're thinking
Oh,
of.
okay.
Yeah, that one, we hope that we've won the CDBG grant for that,
Okay.
for fixing
Yeah,
that, so.
but the Coyote Creek, a bike path that people take from Seal Beach up north, that was in pretty poor condition in our city. So we got a grant from the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, put it out to bid, finally got the Army Corps of Engineers permit, the LA County Public Works permit. We're all in line, it's bid out, the bids are back, we've awarded the contract. Now they're gonna start, but all these construction projects are a little bit lacking in speediness because they can't finish their last job because of rain delays. As you know, it's hard to get a contractor over to your job if he's delayed on the last job. So that's what we're encountering, a lot of delays due to rain on their previous jobs, so their start dates in our city keep getting pushed back.
We have sidewalk lifts and ADA ramps also, and
Yeah.
all over the city, so.
Once the median gets awarded, how quickly do you think that will happen?
Well, if they're good with contracts, we could probably start within 30 days. But
Oh.
if they're not getting their assurance evidence to us and their contracts back to Michelle, sometimes that's like pulling teeth because they're secretly delaying because they haven't finished their last project yet,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So a lot of that happens. You know, you go with the low bidder, they're not done with their previous project, they have to stage it, we'll have to find them a staging facility. Staging facility is usually a vacant lot available for them to put all their equipment, so not the bringing their equipment into our city and then taking it out of our city every week.
Yeah.
Or every day after work. So a lot of that has to occur after the bid. After the bids are opened, it goes to city council for acceptance of that bid. If the price is way away from the engineer's estimate, we kind of have to redesign the project or take some nice features out of a project and say, we don't have enough money to do it that way. So that option is there too. And then we do the contract. If council awards in March, then Michelle starts the contracts, the insurance evidence, a pre-construction meeting, and then a start date.
Yeah, will they be closing lanes for that? Should we wait until school's out to do
No,
that?
they will not be closing lanes. They will close off your parking to divert the lanes around the construction. You have 2 physical lanes that move now, and then a bunch of right-hand turn lanes / parking.
Yeah.
So you're gonna lose that right-hand turn lane / parking area as when it diverts in that area or shifts to the left here, shifts to the right there. Will always remain 2 lanes in parking unless there's, for a couple of hours, like some of the digging you've seen go on in the city recently with the Orange County Sanitation District, they're taking out 2 lanes, and then we learned and we moved them to nighttime. And now, so. It's like Sim City every night.
All right, we're at commissioner reports. Anything from the commission? I don't have a report other than just a thank you for the appointment. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. I guess that's it. I think we're adjourned.
March 22nd.
March 22nd.
What?
March 22nd.
Okay.